Thank you very much. Let me thank the hosts, the Parliament of Albania, Speaker Ruci and Prime Minister Rama, esteemed Secretary of State, Mr. Pompeo, President Sassoli, Senator Rosen, Mr. Moratinos, respected ministers, fellow speakers and members of Parliament, all of you organizers, guests, and dear participants. It is truly a great privilege to be among all of you today. I believe it is a dedication and commitment from everyone here to tackle acts of hatred and discrimination in times when all of us are actually facing a common enemy and a deadly pandemic. And through this, we are showing a high act of civilization, solidarity, and humanity. In the 21st century, in this decade of action as labeled by the United Nations, there's no excuse for any forms of discrimination, for attacks on people, on humanity, because any such action in itself is an act directed against the dignity of individual people. In this forum today, we are joining forces to confront the reality of anti-Semitism being on the rise around the world. It was 80 years ago when we failed to recognize the harmful patterns of hate and loath which lead to one of the most unfortunate events in our modern times history. We have indeed come a long way since then, but today the Jewish community needs once more a vocal confirmation from all of us, without exception, about our undisputable and firm commitment to combat the rising tides of anti-Semitism so that we prevent regrets and apologies in the future. It is truly remarkable that this forum is hosted by the Parliament of the Republic of Albania, the country that had more Jews after the war than before it, the country where its people gave their besa, the Albanian code of honor, for an uncompromised protection and rescue of every single Jew that entered its territory, even to the point of forfeiting their own lives. While generosity and religious tolerance are some of the noblest features of the Albanian people, including all Albanians in Kosovo, Albanians understood at that time, and they still understand best, the pain, dismay, and suffering of the Jews because of their own centuries-long struggle for freedom and independence. But one must not forget the role of Albanians in, at that time, Nazi-occupied Kosovo, which was indispensable in facilitating and making the most noble mission of rescuing lives possible. Still to this day, very few people know about the history of Albanian resistance to oppression and the demonstrated religious tolerance during World War II, a tolerance which continues to date. Yet this forum is a great opportunity to echo once more this chapter in our history, which we are most proud of. But at the same time, it's especially important for the opportunity and the space it provides for all of us to reflect on where we stand and especially on how we can come together to stay cautious, to act timely, and to respond responsibly to the rising sentiment of anti-Semitism and bigotry around Europe and the world, and especially since this is happening at the second anniversary of the shooting and anti-Semitic act in Pittsburgh, which happens to be my second home. The Holocaust, the images that come to our minds when we speak of it, those images of mass torturing, mass murder, and genocide are the most unfortunate confirmation of what our societies can surrender to when we hold to a wait-and-see attitude. And trust me, we, the people of Kosovo, understand that best. We are unfortunately aware that we'll never be able to wipe out hatred from every single mind, but we are certainly responsible to do everything we can in this regard. We have all the responsibility, and we will never forget only when we speak out, speak to each other, to our friends, to our children, but even to ourselves. While the role of governments and parliaments in this mission is indisputable, equally important is the role of every community, and especially of every faith community, to speak out when one's faith is used to justify discrimination, hate, and bias against another faith community. This is not a matter of one faith going against another. It is also a matter of people going against people. And we, the people, each and every one of us, has the power to sustain peace, to promote solidarity, to embrace diversity widely, sustainably, but most importantly, genuinely. So I do thank you all for this opportunity and confirm the readiness and keenness of the Parliament of the Republic of Kosovo, and most importantly, of our people, to continue embracing and supporting any local, regional, and international initiatives and actions to address and fight anti-Semitism and bigotry. Thank you all.
Well, Speaker Osmani, let me just ask you a quick follow-up. You were talking so much about the importance of this. Clearly, it's close to your heart also on this anniversary of the massacre in Pittsburgh. So tell us briefly a little bit what Kosovo might be doing or planning to do at home to deal with anti-Semitism.
Well, you've practically mentioned some of the issues that we took and some of the actions that we undertook recently. And it doesn't only relate to the fact that we're entering diplomatic relations with Israel, but it's because, as you pointed out, we take this as very close to home. We understand it dearly. But at the same time, we are proud with the fact that the sentiments of anti-Semitism have not found a fertile ground in Kosovo. This is the result of the history of our people, but at the same time, the historical quest for freedom and independence and the genuine understanding of the grief and suffering of the Jews. As stated earlier, we need to talk and speak out about anti-Semitism in all fora, not just conference settings and public occasions, but also speak to the communities we represent, talk to the people from a grassroots level as well, to talk about all forms of racism and discrimination where anti-Semitism would have a special focus as well. So in this regard, I think we need to have a special and targeted educational programs to those most responsible, but at the same time to carry out extensive education activities with young people as conscious media users through media and information literacy. Because in these times of social media, running campaigns to combat racism on the internet are extremely important. At the same time, I think what we should continue to work on is raise the level of ambition of police authorities with respect to hate crime, have the fora that cover anti-Semitism, and eventually one day host a similar forum. But what I can say for sure is that whatever the Kosovo institutions can do, we will manage to have national unity over adopting all kinds of resolutions and acts that would be against anti-Semitism, but at the same time against any form of discrimination. So practically as institutions, our job should not end simply with adopting resolutions and actions, but it should go beyond that. It's about education. It's about talking to people. It's about working with everyone, because only this all-inclusive approach where the government and the parliament work with the media, work with the civil society, right, and work with other countries can lead to results in fighting anti-Semitism.